Hello everyone, it is Joe here from Snake Draft FPL, and today we are looking back at game week 2 at a few players that I think might have gone under the radar. I'm going to have a look at their stats, kind of talk about how I think the games went and see how we can apply that to future game weeks. I've got 3 picks I'm going to focus on today. If you enjoy this kind of content, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Let's get stuck straight in. Okay then, player number 1 that I'm going to look at, as you can tell from the thumbnail, is Pascal Gross. Obviously he did not go under the radar in game week 1, he had a fantastic performance against Man United, and I think a lot of people may have picked him up off the back of that and then been quite disappointed with his performance against Newcastle. Obviously no attacking returns in that 0-0 draw. But I do think actually he still had a pretty strong game. And these stats I'm going to show for the whole video over the first 2 game weeks. So it's not a big sample size. Obviously it's very fixture dependent in that small amount of games. But I will say Pascal Gross, 5 chances created in 2 games. Okay, it's not like, it's not unbelievable, but it's just showing that he does have that attacking intent. 10 penalty area touches is definitely something I'm interested in. Someone that's in the box, because that's something we've seen from him in the past. He's just not quite been getting in the box and getting involved in the really big chances. He's always had set piece delivery. He's always been a good crosser of the ball. But sometimes, when he's playing wide, he just doesn't really get stuck in that much, but that's not really what we've seen from the first 2 games, and I think he's actually a significantly better option than what he has been in the past if he continues to play in this way. And that is one thing, with Graham Potter, you can't always tell how he's going to line up, but he went unchanged for the first 2 and they've performed really well in both games. I mean, it was 0-0 against Newcastle, but they really had all the better chances and they could have easily won the game. So I was quite impressed with what I saw from Brighton. 2.07 expected goal involvement over the first 2 games. Now that may not mean that much to you, but that is basically his expected attacking returns is 2.07. That is 3rd in the league behind Haaland and Jesus as of just before the Chelsea Spurs game. 3rd highest in the league, which is, he did have one basically a tap in, which obviously does skew that in such a small sample size, but still, nevertheless, that's still quite impressive. And I do think as long as they keep lining up in this way, there's going to be more attacking returns to follow. I just really like the way Brighton are playing, and I think it really sets up well for Gross to do well. Okay, second player I'm going to look at is Morgan Gibbs-White of Wolves. The stats aren't amazing, but they're pretty good, and it puts him as pretty much the best Wolves asset at the moment, which I don't think a lot of people would have expected. I think a lot of people would have thought that the likes of Neto, Podence are going to be significantly better options than Morgan Gibbs-White. And obviously he's not yet got an attacking return, but that's why he's under the radar, right? So 0.72 XG over 2 games is pretty good. He did have one fantastic chance in the Fulham game that he definitely should have done better with, and I do think there will be a certain level of profligacy with him. But when you're looking at someone that is probably going to be your 5th midfielder, he's probably going to be someone that's on waivers and you can pick up for free, it's definitely worth a punt in my opinion. 2 shots in the box, 4 touches in the box for Morgan Gibbs-White over 2 games. It's nothing spectacular, but playing for Wolves and the way they play, it's not like they're sat in opponents' boxes for a lot of the game. They're quite a direct team, so those touches in the box are always quite low on those kind of teams. But like I said, he's got the highest XG of any Wolves attacker, which goes to show that he's not someone you can just cast aside. I do think he's gonna keep that number 10 position in the team. I think he's the only person that's really suited to it, to be honest. And I think, in games to come, they do have a good run of fixtures after Spurs this week. I do think he's someone we could look at and play the fixtures, pick him up off waivers when they've got a good game, and then go to drop him again after. Okay, then the last pick I'm looking back at today is Tomas Soucek. 4 shots in the box, 0.77 XG for Soucek over the first 2 games. The only person in the West Ham team that has a higher expected goals than Soucek is Declan Rice, who has taken a penalty. So non-penalty XG, he is the highest in the team, and it's not that surprising really when you think about how they play. Getting wide, putting crosses in the box. He really does break into the box. And the reason why I've only put 4 shots in the box and 0.77 XG on the stats on screen is because he literally has nothing else. He's had 0 touches in the box apart from his 4 shots. He's got 0.00 expected assists. He literally does not attack other than breaking into the box, late runs, and he's really good at it. And he had a bit of a dry year last year, but the year before that, if you remember, he was fantastic with attacking returns. And I think because last year he kind of underperformed a little bit, didn't really get the goals that we expected, I think he's kind of gone off a lot of people's radars. But I do think he is still a really good pick, especially when they're playing against teams that like to sit back, because obviously that invites West Ham to put more crosses in the box, which gives him a more opportunity to break in. When they're playing the bigger teams, they play on the counter-attack a lot more, and the likes of Bowen and Antonio can break, and Soucek isn't going to be a factor in those kind of attacks. So I really think he's one to really focus on the good fixtures, and then you can just bench him when it's a fixture that doesn't really suit him. But I mean, he is still good from set pieces, and you can score from a set piece against anyone really. But I do think he definitely has much higher upside in those games where they're playing against defences that are really camping in their own box, kind of like Forest did for a long periods today. I mean, Soucek could easily have had a return. West Ham, on the whole, were pretty unlucky not to get a goal, or very unlucky not to get a goal, to be honest. But I do find quite often, the attacking sort of wingers get more of the recognition in draft FPL, and players like Soucek get overlooked a little bit because they're not quite as exciting, they're not as involved as often. But actually, when you look back at the points, they quite often do better than a lot of the wingers that you think would be more attacking. Okay, so they are my 3 under the radar picks for game week 2. I just want to say I did keep it quite short today. I was thinking about putting more players in this, but to be honest, I don't really want to pad it out too much. I just want to stick to players that I think kind of really fit this description. There'll obviously be game week 2 waivers coming later in the week, getting you ready for that waiver deadline, and there may be another video I've got in the works as well, but we'll wait and see if that comes out this week. So like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, make sure you don't miss any content we come in this week. We may also actually, just quickly before I go, we may also be doing a podcast this week, so if you don't already, go on to Spotify or Apple Pods or Google Pods or whatever and follow us on there, just Snake Draft FPL, so you don't miss that. I think that will probably come out Tuesday night would be my guess. So if you're interested in listening to a podcast where we kind of talk about our league a little bit more, but also general draft FPL, then make sure you follow us on there. Okay, thanks for watching. We will see you next time.